Hello, everybody. Is everybody ready? So, it's a bad world, isn't it? Trump, Gaza, Ukraine, Russia. What a mess climate. So, I'm going to talk about the big change. I'm going to talk about what's going to happen in the future. And I wrote a book about it. The title of the book is actually Everything Will Change for the Better. There's a little subtitle, but this is actually what I got from my publisher a week before we went to printing. So I wrote a book, we had an agreement, it's going to be about the future, the next 70 years, it's going to be positive. And he said, "Oh, Koen, who's going to believe this? Positive? Did you look at the world? Come on, you have to talk about the problems." And I said, "No way." We had a deal, it has to be alles wordt anders en beter. So finally, this is the final book. I won, I got the better on the title. And so what is the idea of the book? What I want to do in that book is I want to look at what's gonna happen in the future. I think of the world as a plate of pizza on a pencil. It's gonna tip, it's gonna fall, but nobody knows in what direction. And this is the point we are. We are at a tipping point. Something's going to change. Something will have to give, and we don't know what. And the central idea is it's imagination. If we want to know where the world will go, we first have to imagine different worlds. Not the dystopian worlds we see on Netflix, but all the possible different worlds. And then we have to imagine which ones are feasible. We have to calculate. And then we have to ask ourselves which one of the feasible futures are desirable, which are the ones we want. And then instead of forecasting, because nobody knows the future, nobody can look in some kind of mirror and see the future, we have to backcast. We have to imagine that future and then imagine what do we have to do now to come there at that future. So it's not about forecasting, it's about backcasting. And so in my book, I have a number of things. The first thing is globalization is over, but we will not deglobalize. What will happen instead is we will regionalize. The world will become a world of little clusters that still trade one another, but less than before. And we will trade more within the cluster, the European Union, and less with the rest of the world. So in my book, I have a whole number of reasons why this will happen, but I'm going to skip all of this and just show you this idiot, Trump. And everybody has seen this picture. In the picture, there's not a single word of truth. Everything in the picture is wrong, but that's his liberalization day, right? Liberation day, I mean, the trade war. And we all know that what is actually happening is this, right? And so the world is in chaos. But at the end of this chaos, what we will see is a less global and more regional world. And for many reasons, that's actually not bad. We're doing it in the dumbest and most expensive way possible. But the fact itself that the world will regionalize is probably a good thing, not a bad thing. So I'm happy with that. The second part is I think we're going to move to a circular economy. What does that mean? First, I want to shout out to the old growth economy. We, all of us here, are products of the old globalized growth economy. The clothes we wear, the food we eat, the tent we are in, everything is a product of a globalized growth economy. But this economy has run into dead ends. It has assumed, essentially, if I buy something from you and you sell something to me, if you create a cost to someone else, global warming, depleting fish stocks, nobody is paying it. And this is a fundamental problem. And in the beginning, it didn't matter much because the economy was small. But now you have become so big that this footprint of our consumption is so huge, we cannot continue. So we will move to a circular economy. And the circular economy is not a hippie project. It's not about collecting garbage and sorting it instead of in 3, in 4 buckets. No. It's reimagining how we produce and consume things. It's about the fundamental processes. It's about how we do mobility. It's about how we make steel. It's about how we make the plastic of this tent. It's about how we make things. Because the production processes we have are fundamentally dumb. In the end, it's about eradicating the idea of waste. Waste is a very dumb idea. We make something, we sell it, and a lot of the product we put in is waste, and then we throw that away. While that waste is for somebody else a resource. Many companies heat for some kind of process, and then they have to cool. Well, within 3 kilometers, there's a family that is also burning gas to heat their houses, and we're throwing the heat away. So waste, that's the idea. Let's eradicate the concept of waste by redesigning. So one example is, for example, steel. There's a real example of Ghent, and this is basically the current factory. And they invested 180 million in it already. So the idea is, as you see on the slide, on the top, you have their green energy from solar. You use green electricity to split water into hydrogen, H, and oxygen. And then you're going to add the oxygen to the mills, the steel mill. You're going to capture the carbon dioxide. And then you're going to put that together with the hydrogen to make methanol. So it means if you could scale this, and they're still fighting with that, if you could scale this, you have steel without carbon emissions, and you have methanol that you can supply to the local chemical industry, and that will be the new fuel for ships. All the new ships are now already compliant with methanol fuel. So in a way, instead of throwing all that away, it becomes fuel. So you have ships without oil, you have an oil industry without oil, and you have steel without carbon emissions. That's circular economy. It's redesign how you do things. It's about, instead of owning things, using things. It's about mobility as a platform. It's about this kind of fundamental changes. So never believe an engineer. People always say, but this is not going to work, it's impossible. But many predictions are often wrong. Once this man said the iPhone will never work, but was he wrong? And another one I got from a German publication is, the chance that renewables like solar, hydro, and wind would ever make up more than 4% of the power supply in the long run is ridiculous. It's impossible. That's what we have really said at some point. By 2022 in Germany, it was more than 50%. By 2024, it was already more than 60%. By end of this year, we will go to 65%. It's going much faster than we imagine. Many of us are with our heads in the past, but in the meanwhile, where we are afraid and scared, the world is moving very fast in the right direction. So this is for the whole European Union. You could say, yeah, Germany is probably the greenest country in Europe. This is the whole European Union, everybody, including Poland and Romania and Slovakia and Hungary and France with nuclear, everybody. And the lines show you how we produce electricity. And the green line is wind and solar. So many people still believe you're in 2019. You see the dotted line? That's 2019. There you have 500 terawatt hours in renewable and 1,000 terawatt hours in gas and coal. And people still believe, yeah, that's all nice as renewables, but it'll always be like a small part. It will never be the majority. But it's already the majority. It's already in 2024, wind and solar for the whole European Union produced more electricity than coal and gas. Already in 2025, it will be even much more clear. So the world is changing very fast, and we're kind of missing it sometimes. So to make the point, let me show you this. This looks like a really strange graph. I shout out to a colleague who showed it me the first time. So it's actually the World Energy Outlook, and you see at the top PV history. So basically, it's an estimation of how many solar panels will be put on roofs or somewhere installed in a year. And every color is a year of prediction. So every color is in that year. From then on, they predict in the next years we will produce so much, so much. So you see that all these prediction lines are relatively flat. Usually the engineers think, okay, this year we installed so many gigawatt, and next year will be comparable. And every year they have this flat prediction line. But the reality is the black line. The reality is the black line. I would say, who the fuck is making these predictions? Fire these guys. What the hell? After 20 years, we should kind of know it doesn't work. By the way, this was 2022, this was 2023, and this is 2024. In 2024, last year, the world installed 570. The last number has been revised actually to 590 gigawatts of solar power. And of course, Solar power doesn't produce all the time. It may produce 25% of the time worldwide. So you have still to divide by 3. 550 by 3 is still 190. So basically, a gigawatt is a nuclear facility. Last year, the world installed 570 divided by 3, 190 nuclear facilities in solar capacity. That's how fast it's going. It's absolutely crazy, and we don't see it. And the reason is economics. The prices for solar panels are falling very steeply. So it started in 1975. And 1975, then it was something for on satellites. And while scaling the production, so at the lower axis, it's not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's 1, 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000. So it's like a log scale, essentially. And so you see that this line, this red line, basically says that prices, every doubling of capacity, prices decrease by 20%. By now, compared to the beginning, prices had dropped by 99.9%. Also, the last 3 years, the tempo continues. So that's what's going on. Renewables getting cheaper and cheaper. So what will happen in the future? Many people think we live in this world where the base loads, so this is like a typical day. You have 24 hours, and basically you have some load on the electricity network. And you have a morning peak and an evening peak. So you have 2 peaks. And many people think it's nuclear, that's a base load, and then on top of that we get some gas regeneration. That's what people believe is the case. But actually, that's not the world today. That's the world of 25 years ago. The world today is more like this. The base load is already renewable. It's already there. And that means that in some times, at some moments, you have a problem of excess capacity, excess generation. This is that moment when the green line is on top of the black line, when we produce more than we can consume. This is when prices become negative. This happened today, this year in Belgium, massively. So prices become negative. But we still, of course, have the problem that you have to burn gas in the rest of the day because the solar is not always enough, and sometimes it's too much. So what do we need to do, in a way? We need to change demand. Electricity is not going to be about producing for demand. It's going to be about demanding for the production. So we want this kind of a load. We want, and in the new green hump, we want to load batteries, and in the evening we want to discharge them. In the hump, we want to load our EVs, and in the hump, we want to discharge them. In the peak, we want to cool our freezers to -24. And in the peak, we want to switch them off, and it heats up again to -18. In the peak, we want to actually already warm the water and put it in a vessel to put in the pipes when we come home. This is the system we're moving to very, very fast. And it's going to be completely new because technology goes very fast. This is what is going on. Usually technology has a phase where it's coming up, then it's kind of spreading, then it's getting developed, and then it kind of levels off. But one after the other technology is coming. You see it also in batteries, one after the other, and it's going, and so this adoption is going faster and faster to new technologies. So this is the world we live in, very fast. Which brings me to the next part. I think what we should talk about more, and this is the biggest trend, is demography. This is what many people think a population pyramid looks like. And you see, this is like age buckets, like the lines are age buckets. In 1930, you had men, you had women. You see, there are more elderly women than elderly men. It's the population pyramid. But this does not exist anymore. It has existed for tens of thousands of years. It's always been like this. But now we live in the era that is going to change. This is how it looks in 2000. Something very different. It's like a 50-year-old that has had too much wine and ribeye, basically. And by 2070, we will be there. This is what we're going to do. So the pension and healthcare system we have built, based on the idea that we're going to finance elderly people and care with taxes on young people, doesn't work. Because we have more and more elderly people that live longer and longer and less young people. So we will have to change the system. But fundamentally, this is not a problem. It's the best thing that could happen. This is what we want. The real problem is a population pyramid, because that's an infinitely increasing world population. This is the real problem. The real problem is a population growth that never stops. And this is how the solution looks like. living longer, which is good, and having less children. This is how a stable world population looks like in every simulation. And it's happening now, in this century. And this is fundamentally good. It's going to solve many of the problems. But it does imply you'll have to think differently about pensions and about care. We cannot do what we did in the past. But fundamentally, it's a good thing. It's really big. For example, this is population expectations in Europe and North America. And then you see that the working age population, that's the light blue, is going to decrease from about 600 million to about 470 million. So we're going to lose more than 100 million people in Northern Europe and America, Northwestern Europe and America. This is the population pyramid for China. Do you believe this? This is China. It looks like a temple or something, right? So China has a huge problem. By the end of this century, there are not going to be 1.4 billion Chinese. There's going to be 800 million Chinese. Because the population dynamics. It's massive. So basically, what's going to happen? Forget the war for people. Forget the war for talent. It's a war for people. You're not only not going to find people with the right certificates and the right diplomas and engineers and economists and lawyers and what have you, and technical people, we're not going to find anyone much at all. We're going to have a shortage of people. That means very good news for young people in the longer run. There's going to be like cycling, but in the longer run, you will be scarce. You will have the bargaining power. Many employers come to me, Koen, the students you train, what the hell? They're lazy, they want a high wage, they want a car, and they want to go home at 5 o'clock. And I tell them, they're not lazy, they're scarce. And they know it. And you know, we are telling them, you'll have to work longer, you will have less of a pension. What do you expect they will do? They're going to work harder? They're not crazy. So negotiation power is going to change. That means also older people have to work longer, but it also means for organizations that you will have to do other stuff. Migration is also here to stay. Migration will stay. This is every election we have. The Brexit in the Netherlands, in France, in Belgium, in Italy, in the US is about migration. And still migration will stay because we will have a need of people. And so what we will have to start to do is think about which kind of migration do we want. No migration at all is idiotic. Open borders is equally idiotic because it doesn't work. What kind of migration do we want? And we will have to talk about this as society. We have to kind of keep each other's hands and talk about what kind of migration we want and how we make sure these people are part of our society. Which brings me to the last part very shortly. All these trends, the whole circularity, the regionalization, and also definitely the demographic transition are kind of transversely cut through by AI and robotization. And they will change the whole world. I don't think it's a coincidence that it's happening now. The world is going to change its population completely. We will not have enough people to do all the stuff that needs to be done. So it's logical that the world invests in AI and robotization. The question is it going to be the right AI and the right robotization? Because if you leave it completely to private firms, they will substitute people. They will make things that you can take people out. They will make what is a profit, allow some firms to fire some people and replace them by AI. But that's not the AI that would be best for the world. The best AI for the world would be augmentation, AI that makes people better, AI that supports people, AI that allows us to do different things than we do today. And if it's going to be substitution, it's going to be very bad and dystopian. It's going to be augmentation, it's going to be much better. So basically, I think, and I'm going to stop now and skip a few slides, I think this is the future. We will have to be more like dinosaurs. Because as you all know, the dinosaurs didn't go extinct when the meteorites kind of fell in the Gulf of Mexico. For me, still the Gulf of Mexico. They didn't go extinct. One dinosaur survived, the Archaeopteryx, and he is the predecessor of all the birds. And now the birds are probably the most successful group of animals. They are present in any ecosystem, from the poles to the deserts, to the seas, to the land masses, to the steppes. Everywhere, we have different types of birds and different kind of ecosystems. The world is changing. We are at the tipping point. Everything is going to be different. And if we want to survive, let's be more like dinosaurs. Let's adapt. We have to change things. We have to be agile. We don't have to kind of hug the past and say, everything was so good in the past. I love it, I know it. Let's keep it like this. It's impossible. We have to change the way we do things to survive. And it's a good thing. So let's be more like dinosaurs. Thank you so much. Thank you.